Greetings. I am Lord Rokan. I come forth at this time, and it's with great joy and, as we could say, excitement central up here to connect with those, as with yourself, as others who have come through this channel. I too say it is a great honor, great privilege and honor to connect with fellow members of the ground crew and those I've had the honor of connecting with in many of the intergalactic parties and celebrations that we've had in the higher realms. Now, I am a master of innovation. We'd say, an MC, master of ceremony for all the great light club parties. I am very much of an innovator and importer, exporter, we could say, of ideas, things that enhance life, bring joy, beauty, upliftment. I'm a very creative being, and so as this channel first connected with me many decades ago, it's more as an artist aspect, you could say 3D or higher dimensional art and manifestations of beauty and virtual reality in some forms of using forms of consciousness technologies to create and using our own natural abilities. And so it has been a great honor for me as being an MC, master of ceremony, to many of the great parties. And in fact, once every year, I have the honor of connecting with our commander-in-chief and aboard his ship, the City of New Jerusalem, Jesus Sananda being his cosmic name. And his, as we say, one of the largest light clubs exist in the galaxy aboard his ship, which is 1,500 miles across, approximately a measurement of size. So we have quite a bash shindig, some would say it. I've often referred to kind of jokingly as a party animal. That's a kind of a phraseology they use on Earth when I'm a kind of wild and crazy man. The humorous comedy aspects, kind of, as we would say, to kind of shake things up, even give them something to talk about. even though they might get upset, at least we know they're alive, as versus just being dead inside. But even if they get angry, at least we know there's some animation and life force working in their consciousness. And so I like to stir the soup, which means stir ideas, throw things out there, create certain even provocative controversy sometimes, so that souls are forced to have to expand their mind and consciousness. So yes, as a master of innovation, and I work with many different beings, even related to technologists, such as Nikola Tesla, many who have been famous for and who have contributed to humanity's progress against what the cabal has constantly tried to do to suppress creative ideas, originality. And our divine creator, divine source, has brought much creativity, especially recently, to kind of liven things up, stir things up a little bit, and challenge humanity. This is an exciting time. So I like to help activate innovation, creativity, spontaneity, all these wonderful qualities, as in societies where creativity, artistic talent is celebrated and welcomed. Notice how in fascist societies and dictatorships where they repress creativity, they repress original thoughts and ideas. And the imbalanced forces, all they can do is be copycats. They can't come up with anything divinely original. That's not in their nature, because in fact they've squelched originality and the beauty of sacred divine law, divine source, our divine creator. And it constantly creates beauty and joy and spontaneity and originality. We don't clone things. As we have said many times, our divine creator threw away the cookie cutter mold. Every time our creator created one of us, and all of us, we're originals. There's nothing against it. It's totally. Now, there are some that may appear to be doppelgangers, that is, looks like doubles, so to speak, but every soul still has unique qualities. So it's this uniqueness that I like to activate within each and every one of the ground crew. I work a lot with Voltra and Zosser and all of the team up here to expand, to heal, to enhance humanity's abilities and technologies. And it's a wonderful thing to bring joy and to enjoy what you're involved in. Pleasure, passion of those things that inspire you to rise to the occasion, to get a lift out of somebody, to rise out of somebody, rather than stuck in old kind of, as we say, in old things that are not growing. To grow, to be spontaneous, to expand is again the dynamics that I work a lot with. So it's with great joy today to help bring greater joy and potential and opportunity for you, to help you, in a sense, recognize these energetic potentials and the epiphanies and revelations that come forth and discovering new things. Now, sometimes they may actually be old things that you're rediscovering, re-evaluating, reconfiguring, taking something. And we always like to use the molding clay cosmic Play-Doh, as Asher often used that expression, because it's like Play-Doh that is always pliable, it's always flexible, it can adjust, it can rearrange itself over an infinite number of times. So it doesn't become hard and brittle and breaks off. It continues to be flexible in its expression of itself. And so it's this playfulness, it's this youthfulness, this joy of discovery, of spontaneity that I use a lot of. And that's something that I always like to bring, the exuberance, the playfulness and joy of this discovery for people who've been kind of stuck in the rut, and suddenly help them discover new vistas, new opportunities that they could never have imagined. And even a few years ago, it would have been unthinkable. We could say now it's not only thinkable, but it's something that all of humanity is waking up. So I've helped in this sense of awakening, helping humanity find that sense of discovery, that newness, that looking at things with a new insight, new revelation, new, as Asher often says, about perspective and contrast. I use that a lot in creative and artistic endeavors. So today it is my great privilege and honor to connect with you. And we have crossed paths and projects and ideas and throughout the universal realms. Even though you have had a bunch of a background as a warrior and guardian, I have been in that sense, but it's primarily my focus because we all wear a lot of hats or a lot of helmets or a lot of different kinds of things, because we have so many different abilities and capacities, as you also. Once you especially get more than 85% of the brain that's been kind of the dead zone, some people call it, now suddenly become very alive, where the blood starts circulating in the brain, percolating, ideas start coming into original ideas, and it's very exciting as that starts to happen. So today, as we flow along here, every moment it's possibly a new revelation, but what may I help? Now, you had with this channel ask you, and then you referred to certain questions that you wanted to ask. I'm always standing by here, and you can always call upon me for, again, that creativity and spontaneity, and to keep things more of a party rather than a really horrible kind of ceremony. Make it joyous and playful and ongoing. This is something more and more humanity is going to rediscover now as things are open up, more freedom, liberty, those things are restored, as Saint Germain himself expressed about things for freedom and liberty and sovereignty, and those are qualities of creativity too. Because when you're not hindered, when you're not blocked, when you're not put in a prison, you thrive through spontaneity and creativity and expression of the divine, of the sacred, all things that are sacred. And so it is with technologies. And others have expressed this, I too would reiterate upon this about, as we are referring to, any concern you have about certain protocols and technologies. When you're coming with a pure heart into something, even if something was designed, quote, supposedly to be negative or evil, it's not able to function actually in the new energy of Earth that Earth is moving rapidly into. And we, of course, have been, so through all of the work that we've been involved in, as far as me helping to develop these fail-safe technologies, that imbalanced energies, dark energies, cannot utilize these kind of energies because their heart is not aligned, their energy is not aligned with divine source. So they don't have the access code to operate them. But again, if there are specific questions about certain technology or protocols, I will help to clarify, perhaps, discern a little more about those aspects. So whatever you want to go ahead to throw out here, and we can discuss this as we do in the councils, and kind of throw things around a little bit and kind of examine and can get greater clarity about things and sometimes things are designed, then we can take it a step beyond that to kind of cultivate new innovation, new ideas off of older ideas, and continue to improve and enhance, just like one of the things that one of my pet peeves as a human expression was how certain individuals design obsolescence. One individual, in fact, who has been working on balancing out his karma, understanding to certain levels to, instead of developing as he did, one known as Henry Ford, this channel likes to call him Henry Ford, because he designed obsolescence for things to break down very, very quickly, rather than designing things to last forever. But you see, as Nikola Tesla was one who was, of course, a thorn in the butt of the cabal, because he wanted to develop not only energy emancipation for everybody being free, nothing would be metered, would be available as it is on all worlds, limitless universal energy that's coming into alignment very quick, and making sure that it lasts forever, the technologies, the devices. That is something also. So there are those forces who are balancing out karma to bring in a development and a mindset of develop it so it will last forever, that it's not a matter of making profit off of things. Profit is okay, but it's not at the sake of the freedoms and liberties and feelings of humanity. When it's designed to liberate and to enhance and expand as society goes through the economic changes, and the so-called profit is used to benefit humanity and the masses of humanity, not a few elite people who try to use that against everyone. No, everyone will now have access to everything. It'll all be universal. And so again, going back to whatever I might be of help and service today, I'm standing by.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to just quickly mention, you mentioned to me a short while back that regarding Henry Ford, that how he designed the planned obsolescence.
Mm-hmm.
So, another term that I frequently hear regarding that is end of life, like
Mm-hmm.
the end of life of products.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned that, but it's coincidentally, that's one of my projects that I want to end the end of life.
Yeah, well, you see, as you know, and you can kind of tune into this, that the consciousness technologies continually rejuvenate themselves, so that molecularly they keep replicating a greater perfection within their design. So that, again, one never has to recreate a new thing unless it's to make an improvement upon working with consciousness technologies, individualized sparks of divine intelligence working with consciousness technology. So everything is thriving, everything is growing eternally, immortally, I would say forever. In that sense, there's no end to that, as you would say. It continually rejuvenating, continually being reborn in the light of the great I am, that I am, Christ's presence, the energy that sustains all life, holy sacred sacrament of connection that all souls have, those of the light, of course, and souls, of course, that are not aligned, that are being transmuted out of the universe because they cannot handle the energy that we are more and more, the earth especially, is moving into. All of us are connected with. So that's why things will quickly disappear out of creation who are not in the harmonious, blissful connection and things lasting forever as it's meant to be. And so this is part of what things that you will be involved in, is to challenge that sense of industry and to create a thriving form of technology that everything is created is technically designed, the energy, the dynamics is there to last forever, at least for a huge long period of time. And then eventually, as you really mentioned, that eventually it will be part of the dynamics of it itself. Everything is designed is in an energetic state where it will replicate, it will enhance and increase its own capabilities. We think of that as a form of benevolent artificial intelligence. It is benevolent, this form of quantum technologies that constantly thrive, constantly enhance, and continue to expand and improve. Perfection continues, becomes more and more beautiful, and it is in the sense of art too. We might say that many artists on earth who have this kind of feeling, oh, I could have done better. There's always this sense of critical analysis of the work they've done, kind of after they finished it. Many artists have this feeling kind of like, I thought I could have done better. Well, what they're really experiencing is they have a deep down memory, deep within them, of a time off Earth where they had universal technologies, so that what they created was constantly improving each of the beautiful scenes they would create, or virtual reality kinds of energetic states of consciousness that always were at the ultimate state of perfection, and then every moment later it might actually transform itself and do it even better. So instead of having this feeling, a kind of letdown of oh, I could have done better, they're feeling, oh, they feel great joy. They reach their maximum potential at any given moment, and that what they created will continue to become more beautiful. It's almost like the analogy of how when I, as some use on Earth who like to also cook, because I like to stir the soup, where flavors marry is a phrase that's used, where the flavors get to kind of be enhanced because everything kind of merges. It percolates, like tea that is being prepared, it percolates, or a bottle of wine where it ages, it reaches a certain age of perfection. Different ways we can express that. So it is with the technologies and devices and things. So it is with artistic talent and ability, constantly reaching peak efficiency and then some, and moving on in the evolution of creativity. So that kind of psychological thing, oh, I could have done better, isn't really there. There's always a desire to improve and enhance and to push the envelope and to explore and those kinds of things, but it's a different kind of greater fulfillment from a soul level, the body, mind, spirit aspect of integration, right and left brain, all that merges together. And so there's more of a ongoing balancing, aligning, perfecting as it continues to evolve. It's very exciting, helping humanity at any given moment, especially in the new types of academia. Unlike as this channel has often used the expression, there's a lot of educated fools. People who have been brainwashed they drank the Kool-Aid is another expression where people get brainwashed. The narration, the narrative, the indoctrination of things, rather than in schools where they are taught to express their creativity, to be unique, to be individuals, rather than belonging to alumni, often because they become part of the Illuminati of control, a power elite, where they have this elite attitude that their particular bloodlines and that kind of thing. That's all nonsense. And so it's a sense of everyone having an equal share, equal opportunity. No one's left out. There's an equal and unlimited amount and then some to go around with abundance. So it's just beautiful to see Earth beginning down the interphrases, beginning to go through this change, as in the old expression, you ain't seen anything yet. And as it builds momentum, a domino effect of constantly one over after another, beautiful discoveries and epiphanies. And that's what's going to get more and more exciting. So stick around, as they say. All right, you ain't seen nothing yet. It's on the horizon, and that innovation that is going to continue to build up momentum and build up steam and no stopping it, because it's building. It's like perpetual motion, we can say. It builds upon itself, continues to replicate and improves and enhance. And so those are the kinds of things that I connected with you in projects on early and ancient time, millions of light years ago, we could say, what you helped create and some other worlds that you lived on. And so you're going to start tapping into that. Now, sometimes there may be a little bit of frustration because you're trying to develop something and the technologies haven't existed on Earth, but Earth is evolving to that point where there will be. So sometimes when somebody feels like they're ahead of their time or they're born out of time, or different phraseologies again. I like to study some of these kinds of phraseologies and expressions and play around with them and use spontaneity and expressions. So there's just so many doors, portals of opportunity that are about to open. Now, sometimes, if Ashtar has even said, it's like the door, it's open a crack, and there's intense light coming out, and then suddenly the door is flung open. Of course, we've learned also that sometimes we can't open the door that fast, because it's like the analogy, and many intel sources have used this on Earth, where they're using as the Alliance on Earth is doing initially a drip process, rather than turning on the fire hose full speed, full blast, blowing a person away, have to do it drip. Now, eventually the drip gets a little more intense, and pretty soon eventually it comes out full steam, because humanity can handle it. Humanity's like thriving and doing certain things, especially things that have been technologies and stuff that has been suppressed, and that now are going to start being available. Thousands of inventions and ideas that will now become accessible over the next few years, and then it'll become a commonplace thing to things that were considered forbidden or out of alignment. Now going down rabbit holes, up the wormholes, those kinds of things will just be commonplace. Nothing's too off balance, because it's the heart, the purity of the heart, the desire of the heart to know, and to be enlightened and to be aware of all things. So there's so many wonderful things. And so you also helping many of the quote younger ones that are growing up to be leaders for the golden age and helping them discover their gifts, the gifts of the Spirit that they have embodied within them, helping them develop that, having and developing those extra senses and abilities or other parts of the brain that are quite common. And usually the younger ones, unless they're indoctrinated at an early age, come in with many gifts. And unfortunately, society often has not been aligned with helping them develop those gifts and often suppressing them and things. And so there's a thing that now, a new orientation that will begin to happen over the coming years of welcoming that uniqueness. And so this is an exciting time. Well, it's interesting, one embodiment on Earth. This is going back, in fact, something this channel has recently heard of a kind of reconnected. Tartania was a civilization that existed on Earth. Some think it was mythical, but it was actually very much connected with Atlantis and Lemuria. And it was even up to a few hundred years ago. See, the history books have been manipulated, altered, changed considerably to change the narrative about what actually, as far as the power elite and those who have sources of knowledge, there are things about humanity's past that will begin to be uncovered. Everything that's ever been hidden will be revealed. Oh, that's just kind of a given. And so Tartania was one of those places, one of the many civilizations that was quite advanced with advanced technologies. And it had, and it continued, and even in more recent times, recent centuries, aspects of Tartania still existed, while a vast part of it was destroyed or through plant to earth changes that occurred. And the things the imbalance forces didn't want humanity to know about, we could say the magical qualities, the areas that humanity thrived in, connection with the nature realms and all planet interactions, stargates, things of this nature. But you were, because we say, an innovator within that civilization. And if you search a little bit, eventually more knowledge will come to you about Tartania and its purpose. It's as far as what it contributed to humanity's evolution. So there was a lot of innovation of technologies, devices, small portable kind of units. They were like little Stargate things that kind of like teleporter, replicator kinds of types of technology. Harnessed energies, wormholes and things, make them small, make them bigger. And they had to do with technologies being designed that can interface with all of these different various, both natural kinds of, because the universe is filled with natural wormholes, we can say, as well as artificial ones, quote, that have been developed off of the natural ones. But as long as even if it's not natural, as long as it's in harmony to divine creation, and then they become kind of a fixture, so to speak, within the universal flow. The thing with the imbalance forces was they would infiltrate those systems, and this is why recently a lot of those were shut down. They were cleaned out, so to speak. Now they're being opened back up to allow access once again. Limitations that Earth sometimes experienced. And the only reason there were limitations is the imbalance forces wanted to manipulate and stifle humanity's creative spark of ingenuity. So they put it, but they wanted, oftentimes, of course, they couldn't control it, but they didn't want anyone else to be involved in it. So it's like poor losers. They just could never allow humanity. And of course, if you look at their psychological background, because they think somehow they were the original ones, when really they were beings that were not aligned with the divine will. And of course, they, in a sense, have always been trying to manipulate and keep humanity enslaved because they're jealous of humanity's ability to tap into divine source and bring awesome, wonderful ideas into manifest form. And so they always try to control the life force. And you've had to battle those forces sometimes. And this is related to the use of alchemy, sorcery, working for the light, and battling the dark ones. There have been experiences and even during the time known as King Arthur, when Saint Germain was Merlin at that time. Now, history's been distorted somewhat about as far as what actually happened. And some of these, because historians will say, oh, no, that was just all legend and myth. Well, and the thing is, the history has been manipulated so much, being able to kind of rediscover the roots of humanity's past, and some things that have been channeled, some things that have been re-given to humanity, just fiction. But Walt Disney put this one sorcerer, white magician laboratory into where he was, and you opened up his books and started reading them. Well, these had certain encodements. and you activate it. And of course, they would say the brooms running around all over the place. Things were totally, and it became chaotic until he came back and got things back, order back again. It wasn't a bad quality. I mean, the old saying, "Curiosity killed the cat." Sometimes implies that because the imbalance forces want to put fear into humanity. Oh, don't go there. That's forbidden. Because they know that if humanity does have the courage to go there, usually they will discover some pretty awesome things. It isn't always some dark thing, but the dark force will put a dark spin on it and try to put a negative spell on it, so only they can access it. And I can also say that regarding the Library of Alexandria, history is a little confused about, because when many tried to get in, this channel has memory of going there and discovering, because what existed underneath, only the upper level was burned to the ground. Everything else is still complete, still intact down there. And so there's a lot of things that are about to be discovered or rediscovered, brought up for humanity. And as the channel would know too, and regarding to the Smithsonian Institute, it's what's in the basement. That's most interesting, and when they have actually stasis chambers and large beings that are in 20 feet or longer in size. There's a lot of aspects to that, and even in the civilization that once existed and where the Sahara Desert is. They had the gigantic green, this channel remembers this also, and had connected with that time. This was an ancient civilization that was quite advanced, where many of the deserts of the world actually had vast civilization and became covered over with sand because of others misused the technologies, and it had to be kind of purified. The sand is a purification, putting things under cover for a while, and eventually it's removed. In other cases, as in South America and many places where these ancient cities exist, they actually are there to this day, and that jungle is really a hologram. Everything's a hologram to a degree, and if you shift the energy, then suddenly it's recovered, it's covered, no longer covered over, and as if the jungle isn't even there. It's a shift to energy. So some of the places, from an archaeological sense, it's an energy activation, not a physical thing like putting a key in a lock. It's your energy, the cosmic security code. This is also related to the upcoming, the quantum financial system, as those who are, well, of course, as you will have access to it, as the channel, all of those of the light. Well, it is your energy and no one else that can access your account. It's ultimately fails. No one can hack into it. It's impossible, because only your energy can access it and no one else can. This is true everybody who have a term wallet and other things in the new system. It's a more, you could say, an earlier form, but eventually more advanced forms are developed. But this is an example of consciousness fail-safe technology. So that's what angers the imbalance forces, because they don't have the higher energy that allows them to utilize it with benevolence, responsibility, and with grace, as those of you who have been a part of that system many, many times. Because in a sense, as this channel likes to use the expression, you'll have all the time in the universe to go wherever you want to go with your heart's content, and the only limitation is the limit you place on it. And so it's a joyous thing of rediscovering, and gives me much joy to just very, very briefly remind you about a few things. Just a few little, as we say, tips of the iceberg. There's a lot of icebergs with little tips sticking out of the ocean. You know, the little tip is so small compared to the larger part of the iceberg. This is a symbolic thing I'm talking about of what is to be discovered. I'm just touching the tip of the iceberg, barely, of things that will be shown to you, advanced systems that you will come upon, and instantly you know how to use them. You won't know why you know, but you know. Of course, you know why you know, but meaning that because you were connected, you developed some of these systems, and so you're really just going back to reconnect with things that you were very much involved in the past. And then at times you will help others, because as you get activated, these higher light encodements that we're downloading today, at each session we do, as what St. Germain brought through, so I'm bringing through higher light encodements. They're specifically related to what we're discussing, but also all the higher light encodements from earlier sessions are all upgraded into this present session. And then when you want to go back and listen to the conscious information was shared, but as far as the access of the higher light and technology, higher light encodements, all of them are continually compressed into the most recent session. So you always have it all, plus the new higher light encodements we're also downloading today as well. We're accessing, reconnecting, and rediscovering. And there are treasures all over the earth that, again, it was not a financial value, it was a spiritual value. gold, gemstones, jewelry, those things were all spiritually valuable for energetic activations, alchemical kinds of things. Many had the ability, as Merlin taught you, and many others, to transmute base metals into gold. It was really lower consciousness into higher consciousness. It was all part of the expansion of creation itself. And unfortunately, certain people, as they went along, wanted to control and greedily wanted to take control over everything. So that's why things had to be put aside for a while. Now that humanity is evolving very rapidly into a new state of a consciousness, rediscovering what they knew of past, but now even building upon that to an even higher state of awareness and fail-safe procedures. Never again will the imbalance force be able to access and control as they've done in the past. A lot of lessons of discernment were developed, were learned. And so that's where a greater sense of maturity and responsibility will be accessed, so that as you tap into these things, now you have an added sense of wisdom and a sense of clarification and what now can be done to continue to enhance and improve and evolve as we all continue on this journey, this great journey of discovery and sharing and fellowship. And as we prepare and get up to the time of our first contact for the public, and already in contact with governmental levels, and we had, of course, found out that in the early days when the cabal was more in control, it was very frustrating to that degree because we wanted to connect with the people actually. But it was those in control thought they were better able to decide what humanity could handle and what humanity couldn't. And that's, of course, a relative thing to how energetically, physiologically ready is humanity. Well, humanity really is ready in many levels to access and open up to things. Many are, in fact, are quickly coming onto the same page. So things are the physiological sense of, as Voltaire also knows, that there's a lot of changes in the physiological sense of humanity and what humanity can embrace, comprehend, and work with, so that everything, again, is working in harmony and in a very win-win kind of way for everybody. And that's everybody benefits mutually. Nobody's left out. And the only ones who are left out are those who try to manipulate or control. So the ultimate fail-safe system, you've designed it many times, and that really, as we say, angered, pissed off the imbalance forces because they could not get the access code. Your lips were sealed. You weren't going to tell them anything. And so even when they tried to torture or whatever, you just left your physical body. And they couldn't. Then what was the point of torturing you? You learned how to astrally project, go all over the place. I'm out of here. I'll go somewhere else. And when I ran out, I'll come back and I'll escape from that situation. Testing, working with herbs, and it was kind of had a sense which was good and which was poisonous. So see, the poisonous ones were not brought here by those of us the higher realm. It was the dark ones who came later, who brought. It's just like the old survival of the fittest thing. Originally, all forms of life were in harmony with one another. It was the imbalance forces who messed everything up and created the survival of the fittest, and where animals started eating one another, and they brought poisonous and very dangerous forms of insects who like to sting and make it a hellish place. We didn't bring cockroaches, flies, and mosquitoes and those things. Those the imbalance forces brought to make it a hellish place. We only brought beautiful butterflies and forms of life that were beautiful and harmonious. That's what's happening now. The energy of the universe is, shall we say, letting go of certain forces, and they will evolve in other forms of life because they will no longer be controlled in that way, and only things as in the biblical prophecy, the lamb will lay down with the lion, because everything will now go into a harmonious state of fellowship rather than being destructive or carnivorous or in a sense to different forms of life. Everything will now come into a golden age, time of paradise. And that's for how the universe rebalances itself, reboots itself back up, so to speak. And the new paradigm, the new blueprint, so much to be rediscovered, reevaluated, and re-experienced, and a great joy, and how to allow the rest of society to be benefited from it as well. So again, it's a blessing to all of us, not only of those of you on Earth, but for us in other worlds too. We look with great joy and happiness to see the progress of humanity will be rapidly accelerating in the coming time. Out of all pain and suffering will go away, and only joy and beauty and fulfillment will exist in this new paradigm, and all technologies will be in harmony to humanity. So again, it's impossible to abuse, misuse, because everything will be in total harmony. It's like a beautiful symphony of beautiful musical instruments playing. Everything is fine-tuned, and everything is aligned. And it's just hearing like the celestial music of the spheres, and then you'll be very much attuned to that as you create things. You'll see it It's like Tesla he would build things in his mind. He didn't have to build prototypes. He just saw it completed in his mind, consciousness, and it manifested. Of course, he had the technology and the laboratories available to bring those down into physical manifest form. And so it becomes more and more of, in a sense of creating through your consciousness. And it doesn't take, it's just like karma doesn't take lifetimes. Now it's very instant. So the sense of positive manifestations and the, as we could say, the momentum that you're building up through your efforts, through the purity of your heart, the efforts of what you are putting forth, things will come much faster. And so it's using technology to interface with it to enhance the natural abilities, not negative art, AI and those kinds of things of control, but working in harmony with technology, and everything is benefited and mutually in harmony and beautiful. Everything is benefited by that effort that's put forth. Now, again, are there other questions that can be of help to you at this time?
Nikola Tesla.
I mentioned him more than once already in today's session. That's because, and of course, he came originally from the planet Venus. And in fact, there have been more than one book in a sense referring to that, as we could say, history. And that is also where Lord Sanat Kumara came from originally, the Lord of Venus, when he sent out the great clarion call asking for volunteers at the meeting, the council meeting, when the decision was made, because you see the Imbalanced Forces had already, from the time of the Luciferian Rebellion, before that, and rebelled and began to create pain and suffering, began to attack worlds. I'm trying to summarize a lot here. And so, but Venus originally was a comet, originally was outside the solar system and came into the solar system and became a fixture where it is positioned for quite a long time. But what we're saying is that that was the planet where things has contributed much to humanity and the original colonization. Many of the Venusians came to Earth and set up early civilization with beings from other worlds as well, and many different realms work together. And Venus has been called a planet of paradise and of love, and because it's very high in vibration, and there are many, in a sense, who still come to Earth and are going to be playing a greater, more public role in the coming time. So Tesla, in a sense, his energy has come back again. And the energy is not specifically mentioning, in a sense, who or what, but is more than one aspect of him is on Earth right now. One aspect seems to appear to be an Earth embodiment, and there's some security aspect. We can't divulge exact locations, but this individual is, again, so I say, re-manifesting technology, and will also be, because of the energetic presence on Earth, that also helps many of the things that he originally developed when he was on Earth before he left, become public availability. I can't keep a class of it any longer. But as well as the energetic sense of his higher self, but also that part of him that's on Earth, that does seem to be part of the destiny to connect with him and reconnect with the old technologies and continue to develop other ideas and inventions that will be available without any suppression any longer by the power elite trying to keep it from humanity and twisting it around for just war purposes. Now, because he was the one who came up with the rejuvenation chamber idea that was given to Earth and became the med beds. There's other more advanced forms of that are soon to be developed as well. So there's many multiple potentialities of this technology. Like all technology, the things that are in harmony can be adapted, altered, changed. New things will be built off of those things, but again, it's all designed to keep lasting forever, or retransformed into some other form. This technology can do that. Consciousness, living technology. It's living like has filled life force. Similar to the Merkaba consciousness light ships that we operate out of. It's an extension of our consciousness. So we can actually transform ourselves into our size and shape. Size and everything is relative. We can be like an orb, as some photograph, little balls of light, or we could be as huge as a gigantic planetary mothership. To a degree, we're all evolving, so there's more and more potentiality for things being able to adapt and be able to shift into different forms and depending upon what the purpose is, how it operates with the natural flows and energies of the universe, going through stargates and various different things that are pretty normal for civilizations that continue to evolve and travel. because as we often say, we don't need ships to travel, but when we're a group of us hanging, as they like to say, hanging out, then we have a place that we create councils. And so many different systems all share those ships. They may originally came from one planet, but they ended up, as we say, becoming a part of many different groups and federations and councils throughout the universal realms. And so again, there's a huge bunch of, as we see, doors, and I'm just barely touching on right now that'll become available. So Tesla's energy, you will be feeling his energy a lot off and on, and you can call on him as one of the, you could say, individuals that will be working with you directly and indirectly in the coming time, different potentialities of that. And there may even be, we could say, parallel levels of reality, other timeline aspects that may be revealed as well that have been, shall we say, occurring in other levels of reality. And what has been going on there, and timeline, there's been a lot of, shall we say, he was very involved in what we call the timeline wars, which was, history has been changed a number of times in Earth to benefit humanity, to break the dark forces' control on reality, or so-called reality, break the matrix that they had placed over Earth, and free up humanity totally and completely. So Earth has gone through a number of timeline changes. Now we reach a point that it's much more, shall we say, aligned with divine creation than some of the other timelines that it has existed or might still exist in other realms. And so again, there's a lot of interesting implications of what we just barely touched on today, bringing the Golden Age fairies of paradise back to Earth once again. And so realizing how much the Dark Winds hijacked history, so to speak, it kept humanity stuck, when instead of humanity slowly being able to evolve where it should have done over 100 years ago. Now, of course, that will make up for lost time. There's a lot of lessons of learning that wouldn't have occurred had things moved more smoothly, but sometimes things take a little longer. Humanity needs that extra kick in the butt, so to speak, as an expression on Earth, and so that now over 90% of humanity will be able to make it through, and also open up to the allowing this technology to become available and free to everybody on planet Earth again. How there was so much that he wished he could have done, and meant for the cabal and the power elite sabotaging his efforts. But those technologies have been waiting in the wings now to be given back to humanity. So there's great joy, celebration for a long time in coming. Things sometimes have to be put off until humanity is more ready, and not only more ready, but in the sense that now humanity is more responsible, has learned lessons of discernment that could not be learned sometimes any other way. Some call the school of hard knocks, so that there is a maturity, a responsibility, an awareness, an alertness, a sense of understanding about the technology and how it should be used, or and should in fact be always available without anyone trying to control it. That was his great desire, to make it available to everybody, and nobody would it wouldn't be charged. It would be free to everybody. And that's why all forms, anything that's metered as of time, that's all going to go away. All these companies, corporations that have made a lot of profit, they're going to lose everything. As the saying is, the first will be last, last will be first. Humanity will be blessed by the availability of things. And so that's why he's come back again, to make that the final dream, final goal that he had always had. Better late than never, we can say. So now Earth can begin to accelerate. The technology is enhancing Mother Earth, actually. That's the whole thing about when technology is enhancing humanity, enhancing nature, rather than polluting or destroying, but is working in harmony to nature. He understood the innate sense of that in all of his writings and things that he expressed, and it frustrated him so much when humanity just didn't have that innate sense like he had. So now more and more people are coming into that state of oneness, that state of attunement with nature, divine source, and how it's all meant to operate as it does in higher worlds. So this is an exciting time to be here, to be able to see his technology finally be welcomed on a mass level, rather than a few power elite trying to keep it for themselves and misusing it and manipulating it. So that's all will one day be a thing of the past as you move more and more quickly into the golden age. So we're all excited, and for what we see ahead of you and everyone else.
First one is if there is a dome around the seven continents, around this planet mass that we're living on, then how do the ships get in and get out?
I know that you want to know more details, and I would say that some things we have to allow the natural evolution of your state of consciousness, which is quickly expanding right now, because try to describe things in a three-dimensional sense toward what has been, as many refer to, the Earth being flat. Well, we can say there's some truth to it, but not. It's kind of a little complicated to trying to give it in a three-dimensional aspect, as far as the where Earth is positioned and its position with the rest of the universe. We would just say that humanity, as it goes through these next few years and things are revealed, there's going to be kind of an alignment taking place with your consciousness. We want to understand multidimensional and certain geological, we could say, truths about how the universe operates, and as far as forms and shapes, and how things we can't, even though humanity wants to put things in kind of to explain things this way or that way, it's not just exactly there. There's a multidimensional sense of existence that makes it kind of difficult to explain in a sense of understanding it completely. It's like once you merge into that state of consciousness where it becomes part of your very nature, you're breathing it, that's all I'm trying to put into words here, a physiological shift that must occur so that everybody's kind of on the same page. And then there will be a greater understanding toward how everything is positioned as far as, quote, relative distance, what is termed light years, will be understood in a little bit different way than you understand it as far as vast distances. And in a sense it is, but it's not, it can't be correlated with present time forms of measurement and how things are used to define and measure things is going to be completely out, we can say, quite a little bit different relation to that interpretation of reality that will give more clarity to you. We just want to say it is a fact that the officials have lied to humanity about almost everything. As far as knowledge, geological conditions of the Earth, yes, they have lied to you completely to keep you stuck in the dark. But again, those things are, one hand, complexity. They're very simple to understand once your consciousness shifts to incorporate this higher state that's merging in with you. So then you can relate to it in a much more, shall we say, harmonious way, understand a lot of the so-called mysteries of the universe will be very clarified. Above me, anything we can say right now, we have to let some things evolve to that point. I know that sounds a little contradictory, but that's our response right now, because we have to allow things to evolve to understand it with higher consciousness that you're going to become merged with here very shortly over the next few years. And then you have at this moment, in order to try to explain it, again, there's this need to let the consciousness evolve and expand, and then it will be more clear to you exactly why I'm saying exactly what I'm saying at today's chat session.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
As everyone on the planet's raising also. Unlike in the old timeline, where only about a third of humanity barely reached the 200 on the harmonic scale because of Cabal being able to hold humanity back. In this one, humanity's losing control, and that in itself goes a long way to not suppress that part of your consciousness. So now, as all these mind control, behavioral modification things are being removed out of the way, and your true sense of who you are, your true spirit, your connection with divine source is coming forth now at this point, being 220, 225, slightly above. And so that will continue to go toward 250 and then eventually 300, at least is how it's being shown here. And also, you can say that as the Earth raises and those of us in higher realms lower energy a little more, we kind of meet halfway. It's kind of like, and then it will start to shift even more rapidly because you become more assimilated, become climatized to being in this state of consciousness all the time. Because this is the whole thing about if we try to bring humanity too quickly to her, it can be a kind of a shock, like getting too much sun. If you do it too fast or too much information, it's an overload. So there's a graduation, and then it starts to step up, starts to speed up more rapidly. It becomes easier to accelerate that over a period of years. And then as you finally as we say in the coming time, are lifted back aboard the light ships where a human merges with the Elohim, then you come up closer to 400, eventually up to 500 even. The Elohim state of being, that becomes the normal state for you. There's a question mark again on timing and circumstances and how you might just find yourself, depending on how fast the med bits and various other things become available, there is a question mark, because part of it has to do with how fast with what some call the movie and the pantomime, as far as the attempt to wake up the last of those who still need to be awakened to their potential, that is in regard to God helps those who help themselves, waiting for, because some things in the steps that humanity is going through, a large part of humanity is kind of waiting for some of the rest of the last group of humanity to wake up. Because if the others jump ahead, so to speak, then the others haven't been given a chance to go through some of the intermediate levels of it's going much faster, and they won't have to take as much time, but there's still a need to wait just a little bit to let some of the other souls, as far as timing and position and where everybody's going to be interacting and working, so to speak, and interfacing with one another, there is the term waiting a little bit longer. We know how infuriating some people are feeling about that. I'm waited long enough. Can't we do it now? Why do we have to wait for the rest? Well, it's just because some things are in the grand scheme of things better, especially, you see, when you're aligning your free with divine will and you're considering everyone else as much as you're considering yourself. It's not a selfish thing to think about your needs. You have to think about your needs, like in the saying of, if you can't love yourself, how can you love others? It's just that there are some parts of your own finishing up of some personal developments, which also has to do with raising the vibration a little higher in your harmonic vibrational scale. This has to do with, has others who are repositioning themselves at any given moment throughout the planet. We understand your desire on one hand, but there's another part of you that's being more, as we could say, coming from more reflection rather than reaction. This is something this channel also is learning more about, because there are frustrations of patience, in the sense of all of you have such a strong passion and desire, because you have been deprived, you've been held back. And so, but also all of you are kind of, your inner self is kind of re-tempering. It's like the analogy of steel being tempered. Like when a sword is made, you have to make it just right. If you pound on it too much, or you heat it too much, or you don't want it to get brittle, you want it to be flexible but strong. And there's a certain tempering process with consciousness and wisdom that allows you to reach peak efficiency by not jumping too fast into something nor holding back. It's just, there's a certain pushing the envelope, but just a little bit of holding pattern, or a little bit longer, and then you will feel kind of a greater flow in the directions you need to go. We just feel like there's a slight sense of holding back temporarily, because it must have something to do with different other things around the planet repositioning themselves as well. And it may sound a little strange or vague about what I'm saying, even contradictory. It's just that we look at the grid energy of the planet. We see like lines of the grid, and how in each of these grid parsecs, we could say different sectors, some things light up, flare up, then other areas light up, because more light is being generated in some areas. And then there's an overall, of the entire planet, a collective sense of repositioning as well, it interfaces with the individual. And so this kind of, we see perspective and contrast of how some things, by waiting a little bit, allow a little more perfection in the field. And we're trying to explain something that's a little difficult, of just going with the flow. And we're not saying that you shouldn't connect. We're not saying it's forbidden or it was out of the line. We're just saying, when we're looking at it and trying to reach the highest perfection, the highest potential at any given moment, somehow over the next few months, there's a greater, it's like, again, something like tea percolating, or a bottle of wine, when you open it and you aerate it a little bit so the flavor is better. There's a certain timing of the sequence of when exactly one opens the door or the portal, when no one takes action, letting wisdom percolate in one's soul, and then suddenly, like the accessing of a code, access something, one waits until a certain moment in time to attempt to do it. They just say that there's just a sense of waiting just a little bit longer, and that's, I know, difficult, but it sometimes it's almost like the horses are about to go in the race. Somebody fires the gun and somebody shoots out of the gate faster because of their desire. Their heart was pure, but there was still a sense of wisdom when the gate opens up and all the horses go for it. And so we would say there's kind of a sense of letting that tempering a little bit longer, and over the next few months, then we could say you're more more ideal to start to utilize, because it's going to coincide with some other things. What seems to be implied here from what's being given to us to give to you. It's not saying you're not allowed to. It's just saying if you want a little more of a maximum sense of potential at that given moment of when you connect, by waiting a little bit longer, it allows a few other things to readjust and to temper themselves. So everything is even more in harmonious connection. I mean, it could be argued one could wait forever and continue to perfect. But no, there's a certain relative sense of waiting and you still be busy with other things, waiting for that more, we could say, magical moment when you feel even more attuned and feel like, okay, this is it. I can now feel like everything's kind of lined up a certain way. And because there's more energy being brought forth through these sessions, also there's more kind of preparatory energetic alignments with the encodements that are being given to you for things that are going to be happening in the future, which is part of many preparatory other dynamics of people throughout the planet that you are destined to connect with. Many different things. This is just one of many going on in an accelerated process of discovery, of reconnection. And we are very honored to be a part of that, a part of your higher self, getting your conscious self a little more aligned and ready and prepared to, as the gate opens up and off you go, no stopping you, that kind of thing. But it's just this final few adjustments, almost like the analogy of a beautiful instrument being fine-tuned for the beautiful music that's about to be played. And depending how much effort they put into tuning, perfect that tuning is versus how sloppy it is, or how just waiting out a little bit longer to do the last few adjustments. These next few months kind of represent that gate going up and things coming into even better attunement than trying to do it right at this moment. And it's not to say you couldn't, but how much better something could be when one waits a little bit longer. That's the only way we're giving you as clear and honest picture as we can. It's up to you whether you choose to do that little bit of wait or go for it now. We're saying that it's nothing wrong if you do it. It's just a little bit more perfection, a little bit more fine-tunement and preparation makes that even smoother and even more perfect for what's ultimately going to occur.
Like the higher forms of technology that you use on a daily basis, like replicators, synthesizers, those materialization and dematerialization devices, etc.
On higher worlds, these kinds of technologies, though we may utilize them at times, really it is more, when we evolve to a point where they don't have to use so much the technology, your own consciousness manifests, you see. These things are kind of used for planets in transition who are becoming more evolved. You're becoming part of the higher world's community, intergalactic community that we belong to. There comes a point where you don't even have to use the technology eventually. But for a while, it's important to have it because it makes life easier, and then you have more time to develop your consciousness and mind, and eventually you bypass the need all the time to use it until you don't even need to use it. It's just part of our consciousness. Like when they said about we can manifest into a little orb or a gigantic size of a mothership, planetoid ship. It's all relative. There's no limitation except what we put upon it. But a lot of this is more connected with the transition. And believe me, it will become second nature to you in the coming years to use it. And then eventually it will be the stepping stones to more advanced levels of your own consciousness, doing the same thing without having to use the technology itself. It'll be a gradual and stepped up operation. And especially when you return back amongst the higher realms and the human merges with the Elohim, then you'll be back in that level that was much more your physiological prime, we'll say, your physiological state at any given moment that is your ultimate greatest part of your consciousness that is operating, constantly evolving, and you'll be in that state where you won't need to use the technology. Actually, it'll be totally operating with your mind consciousness, everything around you. And of course, with that, with great responsibility, but it's a neat thing to only use it in the highest possible way. So that's part of the future. I mean, to be solely not, I mean, technology will always be there, but you won't be dependent on it. You'll just have the natural abilities. It's like in your cells, your molecules. It's like, it's unthinkable not to have that state of constant. And so, but for a while, Earth will need it. And as Earth becomes, has been termed a junior league member of the Federation, which is now the Alliance, and that is wonderful because Earth will no longer be quarantined and will have open access publicly as it was in the early days of Lemurian Atlantis once again. But there's been much wisdom gleaned since then too that will not allow the imbalance forces to ever take advantage of Earth in any kind of possible way. And that's wonderful that these things are now, we're getting closer to those historical moments of great expansion and excitement and development and acceleration that is now going to start rapidly moving us in that, moving Earth in that right direction. So I would wish to thank you for the opportunity that I always enjoy when I have an opportunity through this channel and then now connecting with your energy. And over a period of time, all those that this channel has channeled, you will ultimately have more direct access to communicate directly yourself, something that becomes part of the essence of who you are, from telepathic to soul level communication. A lot of times it can be coming. See, channeling is of many different forms. Sometimes one can receive something years ahead of time that's waiting in their consciousness because one can see that in the future you're going to come upon an event, something similar to what you're feeling, something where that which has been kind of grounded, anchored into you as something to be percolating and waiting for that moment. All of a sudden, the experience coming up kind of activates. It's like, again, the Cosmic Security Access Code allows that gem of truth, that thing that was placed there, waiting for that moment of epiphany, of self-actualization, self-realization, suddenly comes into real as a focus. Or it can be something that you receive instantly at that moment directly. And so there's many different forms of transmission, communication, connecting. And so you'll fine tune and develop that. Lots more stations on the cosmic radio, unlimited, especially when you realize that, and many people have talked about how animals can often sense things more than humans can. When you look at the 360 degrees of the spectrum of reality, and you realize that you, as on a human level, are only, 2 or 3 at the very most degrees, to realize that you're going to be able to operate at 360 degrees, conscious communication everywhere, multidimensionally. I'm using, that's the only way I can describe it. I mean, one way is that the difference between 3 or 4 degrees on that huge 360 degree scale. Imagine sun 3 going from 3 to 4 suddenly to 10, 100, 200, 300, and where it becomes multidimensional. It's like unthinkable not to have that state. That's how backward Earth is, and yet Earth, once your DNAR starts to activate, you might even go beyond the 360 degrees, which is, again, what I'm explaining is something that can't be put into human consciousness. It's way beyond the normal sense of what you think existence exists as, something far more profound. But as your energy and your harmonic vibrational scale raises, then you'll start tapping into more degrees of that, more 3 or 4, and finally 10, and then 20, and you'll start going up and more like 100 part of it, 100, yes, 100 a part of it rather than 360 degrees. Then eventually 200, and it'll become the whole range of the spectrums, so that every level of reality will be accessible to you. And so, and to even use the analogy, some UFO researchers and theologians have often referred, it's like comparing humans with ants. Humans are like ants compared to humans if they represent higher being. Well, that's not really a valid, because people often, in some way, they're trying to interpret when higher beings have the ability to unconditionally love and express divine connection without feeling in any way superior, feeling better than. No, we're all unique and all evolving. Well, we may be more highly evolved and have greater range of our capacities. we're still all growing in fellowship. We're all expanding, growing, and even we learn a lot from those of you on Earth because there are unique moments of spontaneity that I find particularly interesting when, especially with ingenuity, with discovery, with designing, creating, and the ability to expand one's consciousness and take in and understand in ways, again, the imbalance forces aren't capable of because they're not connected with divine source and that sacred connection that all of us who are part of the divine plan hold our divine creator as a not our will but thine be done. We always connect our free will to the divine will, and as we've said many times, the more we do it, the more free will we're given because we're showing the responsibility and maturity to utilize that, and so we're given more of it. And it continually expands upon itself based on our ability to use it and responsibly and joyously. The more the Creator will reward us for. It's just a natural process that's ongoing. We just know it as something that's part of our essence. And that's what the imbalanced forces lost when they rebelled, so to speak, and chose to go against the divine plan, thinking they were superior, better than divine creation. Many souls have had to learn the lesson. Some have had to be recycled, so to speak, because they had to learn it the hard way. But evolution is meant to be a joyous, beautiful, ongoing experience and a profound, greater expansion of our freedoms and what we share in fellowship. So I bless you, my brother. It is a great joy to connect, and I look forward to connecting more in the coming time. And again, if there's one last thing perhaps we can clarify, whether we bring this to a close, we only have a few moments here, but if there's any last thing that we would help clarify, perhaps?
Yes, actually, now that you mention it, there was one quick question. The last one would be, you mentioned something about the Cosmic Security Code. Could you tell me a little bit more about that? What exactly is that?
Well, it's really just another way of related to who you are. Instead of described about how accessing ancient places or is a new quantum financial system, not only your energy signature and no one else gets to connect with your DNA RNA can access your account. No one else can do it, literally. And that's true of everybody's account. It's their unique DNA RNA signature. So that's just a simple way of explaining it. It's a security access code. And so no one else can access it. It's fail-safe. And no one else can become part of the system who does not have a pure heart. So I bless you at this time. I'm Lord Rokan, as above, so below. And let's party. Let's enjoy life. Blessings to you and everyone else.